Retargeting campaigns, following up email leads. Why follow-up is where the revenue is. Most B2B teams obsess over the first cold email and then lose discipline on the follow-up, which is exactly where deals are won. Modern buying journeys are fragmented across inbox, LinkedIn, and quick research browser sessions, so prospects rarely convert off a single touch. Retargeting campaigns solve that problem by turning ignored email leads into a coordinated, multi-touch system that keeps your offer present until timing clicks. In our work at SalesHive as a cold email agency and outbound sales agency, we see the same pattern. Teams don't have a lead problem, they have a follow-up problem. A prospect might open on mobile, get interrupted, and forget. Then remember you later when your brand shows up again in a relevant context. When you treat retargeting as a planned sequence, not a random bump, you create more opportunities for a real conversation to start. The goal of this guide is simple: help you build behavior-based retargeting that blends email, human outreach, and ads without burning out your SDRs. That means knowing what to do with openers versus clickers, when to call, and how to keep frequency professional. If you're evaluating sales outsourcing or building an outsourced sales team, this structure is also the difference between activity and consistent pipeline. The math. One touch is a rounding error in B2B. B2B conversion rarely happens fast, and it rarely happens in one channel. Benchmarks show an average of 8 meaningful touchpoints to convert, and multi-channel cadences outperform single-channel email by about 30%. In other words, if your process ends after the first email, you're opting out of the way buyers actually buy. Cold email performance makes this even more obvious. Only about 8.1% of outreach emails get any response, but adding at least one follow-up can lift replies by roughly 65.8%. Opens aren't a victory either. Average B2B open rates hover around 20.8% globally, with B2B services closer to 33.1%. That's why we treat engagement as a trigger for the next action, not a vanity metric. This is why high-performing teams treat retargeting as a revenue program shared by sales and marketing, not a marketing thing that runs in parallel. When the SDR motion, email, calling, LinkedIn outreach services, and the ad motion share the same segmentation logic, every touch reinforces the last one. That coordination is what turns an SDR agency model or an internal SDR team from busy to productive. Segment by behavior and buying stage, not just by list. Most teams make a single list, upload it as a custom audience, and call it retargeting. Real retargeting starts when you segment leads by what they did: opened but didn't click, clicked content, clicked high-intent pages like pricing, went dark, or previously sat in pipeline. Those behaviors tell you where the buyer likely is in the journey and what the next message should accomplish. We also layer engagement with ICP fit, so your SDR time goes where it pays. A high-intent click from a top-tier account deserves fast human follow-up. This is where a cold calling team or B2B cold calling services can create immediate leverage. A low-fit opener might belong in a slower nurture track where you protect deliverability, preserve brand trust, and avoid wasting ad budget on people who are never going to buy. The most important operational shift is treating engagement as an automated trigger, not a report your team glances at once a week. If someone clicks pricing and doesn't book, the system should move them to a more direct follow-up track and generate a same-day call task for your reps. That's how you turn interest into scheduled meetings instead of a growing pile of warm but untouched leads. Build a 21-day multi-channel cadence your team will actually run. The best follow-up systems are short enough to execute and long enough to win on timing. Analysis of millions of sales emails found top performers average about 6 touches over roughly 22 days, which aligns with what we see in pay-per-appointment lead generation programs. The point isn't to spam harder. It's to show up consistently with a fresh reason to respond. A practical cadence blends email, calling, and social. Email on day 1, a call or voicemail on day 2 to 3, a LinkedIn touch, and then alternating follow-ups that rotate angles, value, proof, objection handling, and a clean breakup. If you operate as a B2B sales agency or run sales development agency functions internally, this is where standardization matters. Scripts, templates, and triggers should be shared so performance doesn't depend on individual style. Retargeting is also where governance protects your domain and your brand. Set rules like no more than 2 to 3 emails per week per prospect, and cap your total outbound touches per contact per month so the experience stays professional. Prospects should feel steadily informed, not stalked, and your deliverability will improve when your outreach cadence is intentional instead of impulsive. An open or click isn't success. It's a signal to change what you do next. Use retargeting ads to stay present while SDRs create conversations. Retargeting ads are a force multiplier when they're tied to real sales intent. Benchmarks show retargeting ads average around 0.7% CTR versus 0.07% for standard display, which is exactly why they work so well for ignored email leads who still research in the background. When someone has already seen your name in their inbox, a well-timed LinkedIn or display impression can be the nudge that makes your next email feel familiar instead of random. The key is to design ads by buying stage, not by audience size alone. Cold openers should see educational, credibility-building creative. Mid-funnel clickers should see proof like case studies, and high-intent segments should see late-stage assets like ROI angles, implementation snapshots, or comparison points. If you're running pay-per-meeting lead generation or evaluating cold calling companies, this stage alignment is what prevents ad spend from turning into engagement with no pipeline. Frequency management is non-negotiable, so prospects don't cap you before you cap the ads. Use platform frequency caps, for example, 3 to 5 impressions per day, and align that with your email rules so total touch volume stays reasonable. Done right, ads keep the brand warm while your cold callers and SDRs focus on the moments that actually close B2B deals, live conversations, and booked meetings. The mistakes that kill retargeting performance and how to fix them. The most expensive mistake is stopping after 1 or 2 emails. With only 8.1% of outreach emails getting a response, quitting early means you're walking away before timing and recognition have a chance to build. We standardize 5 to 8 touches because persistence, done professionally, wins in real markets. The second mistake is blasting the same message to everyone, regardless of behavior. Openers, clickers, and non-engagers are at different stages, and treating them the same wastes your SDR hours and your ad budget. Segment by engagement and ICP tier, then match the message. Education for low intent, social proof for mid intent, and direct next step asks for high intent. The third mistake is ignoring deliverability and list hygiene, especially when you're syncing to ad platforms. Old, unverified lists can spike bounces and complaints, and that poisons your sender reputation for future campaigns, something any cold email agency or sales outsourcing partner has to manage proactively. Clean your data, sunset truly unengaged segments, and make sure opt-outs are honored across your CRM, sequencing tool, and custom audiences. Optimize with measurement, triggers, and AI-assisted personalization. If you can't prove influence, retargeting budgets get cut first. Track meetings and opportunities where prospects engage with at least one retargeting touch, an email click, a site revisit, or an ad view within the attribution window. Then compare against segments that didn't get retargeted. When you instrument this correctly, you'll see why retargeting is credited with conversion lifts as high as 147% to 150% in aggregated benchmarks. This is also where trigger design pays off more than more activity. High-intent actions, pricing clicks, repeated product page visits, webinar attendance, demo no-shows should generate immediate tasks and branch the prospect into a different track with a sharper CTA.
That's how we cut wasted touches and keep an outsourced B2B sales program focused on the accounts that are most likely to convert now. Finally, let AI handle the repetitive personalization work while your SDRs handle conversations. Manually rewriting every follow-up is a fantasy at scale, whether you hire SDRs in-house or work with SDR agencies. AI-assisted personalization can reliably add relevant hooks, role context, company triggers, tech stack clues, so each touch feels intentional without turning your team into copywriters. Next steps: turn retargeting into a repeatable revenue system. Retargeting works best when it's treated as a single operating system across sales and marketing. Define your engagement-based segments in the CRM. Map each segment to an email track, call motion, and ad creative, and then agree on shared KPIs like meeting set and pipeline sourced. This is the difference between a coordinated B2B sales outsourcing engine and scattered one-off follow-ups. Start small and scale what proves out. Launch retargeting ads only to high-intent segments first, where the economics are easiest to justify, and keep lower-intent leads mostly in email and LinkedIn until they show stronger signals. As performance stabilizes, expand to additional segments and rotate creative so your message stays fresh over the 2 to 4 week window where most conversions happen. If you want this to run without constant firefighting, document the rules, triggers, frequency caps, segment definitions, and handoff points between marketing and your SDR function. Whether you're choosing a cold calling agency, adding cold calling services, or building a sales agency-style outbound pod internally, the playbook is the same: behavior-based follow-up, multi-channel reinforcement, and disciplined measurement. When you commit to that structure, no reply stops being an ending and starts being the beginning of a process.